Toxic people do not fear your anger. They expect anger. They know how to control anger. What they fear is silence, because silence means they lost access to you. It means you stopped reacting, stopped explaining, stopped giving them what they need to control you. Most toxic people survive on one thing: your emotional reaction, your anger, your frustration, your attention. The moment you stop giving them that, their control begins to fall apart. You do not need to fight toxic people. You simply need to become someone they can no longer reach. Today, 7 silent behaviors that make toxic people fear you. And number 7 is the one that changes everything. 1. You observe everything but react to nothing. Toxic people want your reaction. They want you upset, emotional, easy to read, because easy to read means easy to control. But when you stay calm, something breaks in their strategy. You still notice everything: their tone, their manipulation, the fake kindness, the real intentions underneath. But you do not react. You stay quiet, still, unbothered, and that stillness unsettles them because they no longer know what you are thinking. And what they cannot read, they cannot control. Your calm becomes their confusion. 2. You stop explaining yourself. Toxic people love making you explain, because every explanation creates an opening. The more you explain, the more they twist your words. The wiser move: say less. You do not owe anyone an explanation for protecting yourself, not to people who have already decided what they believe about you. Sometimes silence says more than 1,000 words ever could. The moment you stop defending yourself, you become harder to attack, because now they have nothing to work with. 3. You choose distance over drama. Toxic people need chaos, arguments, confusion, emotional exhaustion. That is where they feel most powerful. But distance takes all of that away. Distance removes their access. And without access, they have nothing left to control. The more distance you create, the weaker their grip becomes. Sometimes the strongest move is not fighting back. It is simply walking away, quietly, without explanation, without looking back. 4. You remain calm under pressure. Anyone can stay calm when life is easy, but toxic people test you in difficult moments. When things go wrong, when tension rises, when they push hardest, that is when most people break. That is when they expect you to break. But when you stay calm under real pressure, something shifts. They realize their pressure is not working. Their tactics are not working. And a person whose tactics stop working starts to panic. Your calmness under pressure is not just composure. It is a signal that says you have faced worse and survived. 5. You protect your peace. At some point, you realize that your peace is expensive and not everyone deserves access to it. You stop entertaining arguments that lead nowhere. You stop engaging with people who drain you every single time. You become selective, very selective. Who gets your time? Who gets your energy? Who gets access to your life? This frustrates toxic people more than almost anything, because their control only works when you keep letting them in. Once you protect your peace, they have nothing left to use. 6. You stop seeking approval. This is where real freedom begins. Most manipulation runs on one fuel: your need to be accepted. Toxic people keep you in line by making you chase their approval. They make you feel like you are never quite enough. And as long as you need them to validate you, they own you. But the moment you stop needing it, everything shifts. They cannot guilt trip someone who does not need their approval. They cannot control someone who has stopped trying to be liked. You stop shrinking yourself. You stop apologizing for who you are, and nothing scares a toxic person more than someone who genuinely no longer needs them. 7. You become unpredictable. This is the most powerful shift of all. Before, they had you figured out. They knew your triggers. They knew your patterns. They knew exactly which buttons to press and exactly what would happen next. But now, nothing works the way it used to. You stopped reacting, stopped explaining, stopped engaging. Now they do not understand you anymore. You became unpredictable, unreadable, impossible to control. And that is terrifying to someone who depends on control, because toxic people do not actually want to fight. They want a predictable target. The moment you stop being predictable, you stop being a target. The brutal truth. Toxic people do not fear loud people. They fear the calm ones, the ones who mastered silence, the ones who stopped needing to explain themselves, the ones who walked away without looking back. You do not beat toxic people by fighting harder. You beat them by becoming someone they cannot reach. Calm, private, unshaken. Silence is not weakness. It is self-respect. It is boundaries. It is power. Because the moment toxic people realize they can no longer control you, they lose everything. This is the Holo Theory. Take care of yourself. I will see you soon.